you so very much. Thank you so very much. It is great to be with my Pittsburgh people. So we breathe as we prepare to dive into this concept today of what does it mean to be in the ebb and flow of life, right? Like that's the swaying. So Reverend Marianne mentioned earlier, like the earthquakes. Earthquakes literally made the building sway. Emotionally, it does the same thing. And there are all kinds of things that cause this to happen. So, how do we blossom even in the midst of all of life's changes, all of the discomfort, all of the things that we would refer to as non-life affirming? This is what it means to truly practice science of mind and spirit. This is what it means to move into a space of creating a world that works for all. Because as we know, there are many people who are, what would we say? They are simply getting by. They are making ends meet. They are robbing Peter to pay Paul, and so many other things. We know this. We understand this because anytime we turn on the news, we know that there's something in the news that is begging, pleading for a prayer request. It happens so often in so many ways. Now, referencing this, let's be aware and understand that I'm going to push a little bit of buttons here just in a minute. So I just want to warn you and let you know. Breathe. We can look through history and find that there are times and spaces where people experienced great harm. We can recognize the various isms and phobias and things that have happened to cause great harm to people, physically, psychologically, spiritually, emotionally. And yet, even in the midst of all of these things, there were ways that people found their inner power and they bloomed nonetheless. They learned to thrive, not just survive, not just live, but to truly thrive in their lives in ways that inspiration moved culture and society. We find such things in our world today where people are facing great adversity, oppression, and more. And so our invitation is to ask, how do we bloom today? What does it mean for each of us to find that space where we know what God is as us? To sow that, tend that, so that no matter what happens in life, we are grounded in principle that gives us the capacity to navigate no matter what happens. If our spiritual teaching does not equip us with facing the harsh realities of life, then the teaching is inadequate, it is inept, and it is worthless. And it does not matter if we are affected personally or not. The teaching must be a path and a practice for improving life for all. If we're creating a world that works for all, then it doesn't matter. I am not in any way, shape, or form a woman, a female. So for me to say, well, what happens to women? What happens to women's rights? What happens to women's bodily autonomy has nothing to do with me. Then that means I am not rooted and anchored in principle. Because if I am saying that, then it means I am creating separation between them and myself. And we understand God is all there is. There is only one life, and that life is God. And that life is our life right now. So what happens to one happens to all. So I must take into account, how do I apply this teaching in a way where I am a beneficial presence to people that I may never meet? How do I apply the teaching in a way that is going to, in a life-affirming way, impact the people currently dealing with the ramifications of the earthquake? I'm not going there, but prayer goes there. My body's not going there, but there is only one mind, and that mind is God, and that mind is everywhere to such a degree that there isn't even a where for it to be. The one mind simply is. So how are we bringing this into the space to transform the world, individually and collectively? Hard times don't create heroes. It is during hard times when the hero within, when the Christ within, when the divinity within is revealed. How do we show up and respond to the various things that occur in life? Now, there are some folks that say, well, the reason we suffer is because suffering teaches us lessons. I don't believe that. I understand that there are some who do. The goal, based upon our we believe statement, the ultimate goal of life is a complete emancipation, a complete liberation, a complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. Then that means we are working to eradicate suffering. Suffering is not necessary for our spiritual growth, but suffering sometimes happens. And when it happens, we are invited to go to that place of principle and let that inner superhero, that inner light, that inner divinity that is so much a part of us that it's not even within, it's not even inner. I use that phrase as linguistic convenience. The inner hero. God is all there is. That means it's all of what we are right here and right now. So when things happen, do we have the emotional intelligence to know when we are regulated, to know when we are dysregulated? Do we know what it means to feel the triggers when someone says something that, like, wow, wow, that hit my self-esteem, or wow, that causes me to feel, some form of body dysmorphia, or, oh, wow, that thing, you just said something that made me feel like I'm less than, I'm ugly, I'm not intelligent. If we aren't able to identify that, then how do we bring spiritual practices to it? In the same way that if someone goes to the ER, and you walk in, the doctors, the nurses, the medical staff, they identify oh, it's a fever. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's a bug bite and you're allergic. Oh, they identify the issue and then they go into treatment for the issue. Our invitation is to do the same thing, to identify the emotions, identify the states of mind, identify all that is within our consciousness, and put it into practice. Strength does not come from physical capacity. It comes from having a will that is indomitable, a will that does not crack, that does not falter, because that will, whether you know it or not, is the will that is God. Breathe that in. Because what we are saying is when we have this awareness, it completely changes how we show up. We no longer need to be strong, powerful in the way that the world, collective consciousness, would say that we're supposed to be. Because we understand what true power is. That's why when people say things like, yes, speak truth to power. No, that's not real power. Speak divine truth powerfully to those who believe that their pseudo power, which is fake, which is false, is true power. It's not. Love is true power. The creative process is true power. Knowing who and what we are as the divine is true power. That's what gives us the ability to regulate our emotions, our intellect, our spirit, our relationships. And in so doing, not only do we develop emotional intelligence, but we develop spiritual intelligence. We understand that the 4 pillars of our mental equivalent change and shape our lives accordingly. Our thoughts and all of our beliefs, our words and all of the ways we communicate, our emotions and feelings, and our actions. All of this is now moving in a way that is in the flow of the divine. Thoughts, love. Words, love. Feelings, emotions, love. Actions rooted in love. Then what's the manifestation? Love. Peace, thoughts, words, emotions, actions. Then what's the manifestation? Peace. Are we practicing this in such a powerful way that the world has no choice but to heal? Dr. Holmes invites us, thus you are already prepared to test the principle by allowing this life to flow through what you are and what you do. Things happen because of an immutable law, and you need not energize the essence of being. Its power is already supreme. By holding a thought, that mental equivalent, by holding a thought, you do not add an inch to reality. But what you do is you allow reality to manifest in, through, and as what you do and what you are being. In the middle of every opportunity, in the middle of every difficulty lies an opportunity. But we have to choose. We have to choose the opportunity. In the same way that if we did this math equation, 7 plus 3 equals, there's only one way to come up with that answer. Only one way. 7 plus 3 equals 10. That's it. But if we focus on the end result first, reverse engineer it, what do we desire? A world that works for all. What do we now have to add, multiply, subtract, divide to get that as the answer, as the experience? Start here, not here. So often we focus on the problems of the world, the conditions of the world, and then we do it in such a way that there is only one answer, and that answer isn't sufficient enough. But if we focus on a world that works for all, a world where people are healed, a world where people truly know their spiritual and divine magnificence, now how many different ways can we get to that? That's our invitation. That's what it means to be within every, whatever it is, whatever life experience, and find the opportunity to practice, the opportunity to know, the opportunity to shift, to heal. And yet, sometimes one of the things that holds us back is this idea of imitation. We compare ourselves to other people. You know, one of these days I want to be able to pray as well as Reverend Mary Ann, but I don't know the teaching well enough, so I can't do that. Oh, man. To which she's going to say, Ray, stop. Shh. Shh. There's only one power and only one presence, that which is God, the infinite, and it is showing up in, through, and as you. All you need to do is practice prayer how you practice prayer, not how I practice prayer. If God wanted there to be two of me, I'd be a twin, but I'm not. You get it? Oh, so just be me. Yes, Ray, just be you. And that is our invitation, to be ourselves powerfully. Just as the nature of the dolphin is to swim and not to fly, so your nature must be according to the expression of God, which is you. The nature of God, which is you. Stop trying to be like the Kardashians or whoever. Be divinely you. Even Jesus, stop trying to be like Jesus. Be the Christ. You can read his examples, follow the lessons, but don't try to be like him. Don't try to be. Be uniquely as the universe is showing up as you. As Carl Sagan said, you are the way that the universe knows itself. He didn't say, you are the way that the universe shows up as you so it can try to play basketball like Michael Jordan. No, wait, what? Be you. As Emerson said, imitation is suicide. Be yourself. There is no one, nor has there ever been anyone, nor will there ever be anyone like you. So allow the divine to express itself in you, with you, and ultimately as you. Breathe. To that end, I want to share a couple of reframes for us to help us move into a space of God 4.0. And what that means is instead of thinking of God as a separate, because sometimes we still do, as an anthropomorphic, because sometimes we still do, somewhere else, because we sometimes still do, power or presence, it's recognizing that it is right where we are, as we are. Joel Goldsmith says, God expresses God, and that expression appears as you. Dr. Holmes says, for the highest God and the innermost God is one God and not two. Meister Eckhart said, between me and God, there is no between. Breathe that in. Ernest Holmes once again invites us, the life within you is God. Whatever is true of God is true of your life, since your life and the life of God are not two, but one. Okay, I got to breathe that one in. You just said what? Whatever is true of God is. Yes. For the only God you and I will ever know is the one that we embody. Never forget that. How are we embodying God? Embodying wisdom, creativity, imagination, love, peace on earth. How are we embodying this healing, transformative teaching? How are we embodying it? And according to Pythagoras, know thyself. How well do we know ourselves? But know thyself. Then you shall know the universe and God. We find God by finding ourselves. We find God by getting to know each other. Who are the people in your neighborhood? Because they are God. Breathe. Getting to know you, getting to know all about you, is getting to know God, getting to know all God is as you. Because when we do that, we move into that space of ever open at the top, and I always add in there ever open at the bottom, the ever yin and yang of life. Reverend Dr. Edward Viljoen, before as he was leaving as our spiritual leader of CSL, he used this example of this temple in Barcelona, Spain, as a physical demonstration of what it means to be open at the top. Because the church has been constructed in a way that it is not finished. There is ever room for more expansion, more transition, more installation, more something. There's ever room and space for something new. How are we ensuring that in our lives? Because sometimes we get stuck in the, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Then we are not remaining open at the top. The moment we believe that a certain age cuts us off from an infinite source, then we believe in lack and scarcity. How can we remain open at the top so no matter what our age, 89, 99, 309, we say rather than, I'm whatever, once you hit that age, you never, boom, drop it, let it go. What would Yeshua say? What would Siddhartha Gautama the Buddha say? What would any great mystic or master say? Remain open at the top. Remain in that space of, just like the temple, keep the space always open for greater healing, greater evolution. Knowing that that which is you as change is ever moving because God is ever moving. The divine flow is always in motion. So in this whole idea of the creative process, just be clear. Our thoughts, our words, emotions and feelings, our actions and deeds create and manifest in each of these levels. Physical, emotional, social, financial, mental, spiritual, all of these are impacted by the way that we practice. How can we affirm, not just with our words, but with everything that we are? How does an affirmation show up as our actions? not just our words, because I can say, I am smart, I am talented, I am creative. Cool, words, great. But how are they being seen? How are they being witnessed? Breathe. So when we say this idea of blooming, there's also this idea of blooming where you are planted, no matter what is going on in your world, no matter what is going on in the world. How do you show up? How do you bloom? How do you recognize the infinite power that is showing up in, through, and as you? How do you use your divine green thumb to not only make your life beautiful, but to beautify the world, your relationships, to beautify your community, to beautify the city, the state, to beautify the country, the continent, to beautify the planet? How do we anchor with such power and such purpose that we can't help but to show up as the divine expression of love, knowing that that's all there is? There's only one life. That life is God. That life is love itself. And that life is your life right now. And so it is.